Okay, so I was thinking about a comment I made on Justin's channel about going insane and how fun it was and let's go insane. And he offered, goodwill, like, if you feel like that ever again, let me know. And so, and I left him a comment, and I was thinking, I told him, well, I've already went off the deep end once, and I know what's down there, and it's not good. But it's like, nobody choked me in the shallow water before I got too deep. Edie Brockell, lucky bitch. Like, somebody took Edie Brockell into the deep with a scuba gear on. Like, she didn't go out into the deep, like, in the wild, like I did. Like, just tearing. I was just tearing through. It was like, I was like a fucking maniac. I'm sorry, I have to cuss telling the story. Because I can relive this whole thing in my head, and it's like a little graph or something. Like, I was just like busted out of the woods like Rambo or something, with like scars and cuts, bloody, and just like sweating like it's in the summertime, and just fucking like a maniac, like tearing through the fucking wild like a fucking fool on fire, and running right off the deep end. But it's like I was on the edge of the deep end there. Because I like to hang out in the deep end. I miss the deep end. And sometimes I can catch myself, I try to stay in the deep end. I can go as deep as I want to go. I can go off the edge again. But what's the point of doing that again? That's just, I learned my lesson with that whole judge injunction, involuntary commitment. It really didn't have anything to do with my parents. And it was, even though they drove me to the hospital, but... that's a whole other story over at the 007 psych ward on the 7th floor, they called it. And that is not good. That's something that's down there off the deep end, is the psychiatry and psychiatric industry, and how they work with the Justice Department. They will have psychiatrists work for them. Those are the psychiatrists that know about what goes on. I've talked about this before. And they help put the front up for a lot of the black ops torture that people go through. I went through it, and so I got put in there to be observed, and I was observed. It was an experiment, and nobody will ever be able to tell me anything different, because it was just too, I've talked about it before, I don't have to go into it again. Anyway, I was hanging out there on the edge, though, and didn't realize I was on the edge much, but until I just totally fell, like, down quick. And so... I was able to hover there in like the time, like right in the timeless area, like timeless, like you're not kicked out of time, but you're not in time, like linear time. And it's like this, it's a possession, but it's not a full, I was like full possession when that whole thing happened with psych ward. Like, that was the possession of me. My daughter said that I would shapeshift, my face would change, and I know I would, because hers would too, and I could see it in her. She could see it in me, but you see, that's being more explained to me in a channel I've been watching about how that works, but that's another story too. So hanging out there in the timelessness, like, I'm gonna tell you about the first time I experienced being completely kicked out of time, like within an instant. And I can relive this in my head because it was Super Bowl 54. I was going crazy right up to that point, and this point was the most terrifying point of it, except for that time after the Super Bowl 54, when I actually was communicating, like, telepathically with something that was in the Wi-Fi frequencies, something that was in the phones with the AI, that whole thing. I was able to recognize it doing what it does or some shit. And that was really terrifying too, but that was more different, not terrifying like being kicked out of time. It was Super Bowl 54. I was here with my daughter, and we were alone. And I felt like we went down the road. Everybody left. My boyfriend left. My mom and dad called me, and I had been getting like calls, like lots of spam calls with the robots that sound like humans talking, asking questions. And I knew that it was doing surveys. Something was hacked into my phone, giving me all these surveys about where, why was I going to this site and what was I doing there. And I even ran into sites that said if I went any further, I was subject to government tracking and surveillance, and I didn't give a fuck. I mean, wouldn't be there if it was illegal to do. So I just blew right through that too. And all this was culminating together. But we were there alone, and my mom and dad even called and said that they told me my dad come on the phone, and it was my dad's voice, and he was telling me my mom and him were leaving and going somewhere, but he didn't tell me where. And I was like, okay, they never do that. They don't call me and tell me that. And then I kept getting calls over and over, and I called my boyfriend would be over at my grandparents' house, and I swore I could hear my mom and dad in the background, and it was like they were all going over to my aunt's or something. So I was flipping out like in my mind about that because I was on edge. I'd been sensitized real bad to like gang stalking, not just on the phone, but in real life. And so I said, I was trying to calm myself down because I was like, it was a panic attack. It started. And then we went down the road to get a drink at the drink machine, and it felt like a day, like when I go outside and there's not one single cloud in the sky. And when I'm out walking or something, it feels like it's so quiet. It's like mute. And I feel like I'm the only person in the world if I'm alone, and I can't, and it's like the sound's like mute when there's no clouds in the sky. It felt like that, like there was nobody around because it's Super Bowl 54. I guess everybody was watching the Super Bowl at this time, but everybody seemed to have gathered at my grandparents' house and went somewhere else and all told me about it, and they're all gone. So I'm flipping out, and I'm here with my daughter, and so it gets worse, and it's getting worse, and she didn't have her phone at this time because she was in trouble at school for something with her phone, and they had to send a warrant, and they had her phone. She had a picture of the Twin Towers going down in flames on her phone, and I know that made me look real bad being on the damn terrorist watch list that I got myself put on. And so she was kind of antsy because she didn't have a phone, and I couldn't get on mine because it was, it was terrorizing me. And so I was trying to keep myself composed. And then the most terrifying part, it felt like I looked at my daughter and I was seeing her move in reverse. She was doing everything in reverse. Like she put her shoes on and she was doing it in reverse. And I could physically see her doing it in reverse. And that was terrifying. I didn't know what to do, and I was in full-blown panic fright mode, like a wild bitch running through the woods like Rambo, a fucking fool on fire. And it was over, I don't even know what, but it was the beginning of the end, and that thing overtook, and it was like that every day. I couldn't, it was in me, and it was outside of me, and it was just like Jonathan Fleck says, I was just like being hunted, and no one that's around you that's hunting you. It turns into your family. It turns into, and they didn't realize they were hunting me, and they didn't realize they were taking me and dropping me off at the damn door of fucking insanity inside the insane psych ward. And the whole thing, whatever, I come out and I finally, a year later, stronger. And I'm not going to let anything push me that far ever again, because can't go much further than I was. But now that I look back, a lot of the things that I was, picking up on, it was complete psychic telekinesis. No, not telekinesis. No, I didn't do that. It was synthetic telepathy. Synthetic telepathy, and it was also just a step higher than just my normal like intuition and third eye stuff. It was like insane, and that was so funny in the psych ward because inside the two bathrooms they had there, which one didn't have hot water in it, the damn paper towel dispensers and the soap dispensers had the company names on them, and they had the word op in both of them. And the way that those people just showed up there, and I just showed up there on that 7th floor. I don't remember how I got up there after I made them stab me up and fucking attack me like a wild animal. And I'm about to run out of time because I've only got 10 minutes. So, I woke up on the 7th floor, that they so lovingly call it, and being shot up with the antipsychotic. I don't know how they must have given me Thorazine or something down at the bottom of the basement. The basement down there in the basement. I was talking about the basement all the damn time. The basement of your body, the basement of your house, the basement of everything. And the 7th floor, well, that's supposed to be graduation, but it goes up higher than that. And it goes down lower than that. And, the energy's changing now, and my throat's clearing, so that means I'm getting up. It's time to chill out. So I got 15 seconds. So that was my experience of being kicked out of time completely for Super Bowl 54. This is a year later, and I'm much better. See you later, Tater.